Greetings, I'm Bairnt and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Today we're going to be doing a playthrough of Folklore the Affliction. We are going to do Fall of the Spire, which is their 4th expansion they've put out. If you're interested in more content about Folklore, I did the first 2 stories out of the original and 2 out of the 2nd expansion. They're on my channel. I'll put a link to them in the description below. Please feel free to check those out. When I originally did an unboxing of this a while ago, I said we were going to do a playthrough, but then there was some shipping issues that had to do with some of the mold inside boxes. So again, I put this whole playthrough on hold until I was able to get the re-release content so that everything that I could do would be safe and fantastic for not only me and my family, but for all of you to be able to experience. Now that that is shipped and everybody has their content, we are going to begin our playthrough of this 4th expansion. Also, when I did the unboxing, I asked for characters that people would like to see. We're going to use the ones from that unboxing. I know it's a long time ago, so people might not remember it and might not even watch my channel at the time of when I did that unboxing. Let's go ahead and meet our characters, dive into story 1, and move again into the world of Folklore. If you're excited to do that, then I need you to meet me at the co-op shop. The first character voted by the community was the Druidess. It says, born in the Feylands, a dimension similar to our own, belonging to a colony of humans that immigrated there generations ago. She crossed a temporary dimensional rift, leaving the land of her birth to enter the home of her ancestors in order to protect the balance of our world and thereby protect the Feylands. Unlike our dimension, where matter is concrete, mastery of magic in the Feyland comes from the Fey mists. Pliable matter that make up all things brings with her objects of power. She must find her way in a land where the only magic comes from dark places, and bring the light of Fey to bear down on the evil forces threatening nature and its balance. For those of you that have not played or seen Folklore before, the way this works is we're going to start by gaining these 3 characters. I want to show you everything about them. We're going to be choosing different focuses. We're also going to be gaining items and powers that each of these characters will have. We're going to bring them into the world of Folklore. It is an RPG in a box, and we're going to go on an expansive, massive quest that is going to not only encompass the book, but also extra side quest cards, rumors. There can also be things that happen as we're just traveling around the world. This game is really cool, and it doesn't just set you on a single road to get to the end. It actually brings about this entire living world. So I'm excited to show you how this works. We're going to move into the rest of how this character develops, and when you pick a character, not only do you get the character, but you get to choose which focus they want. So do you want a summoner, or would you want an earthbinder? We have to choose that, and then as we progress through the game, we're going to gain lore. This lore is going to unlock certain abilities based on the focus that we've chosen. For our particular Druidess, I think we're going to go with the Earthbinder here. It sounds really cool. Earthbinder gives us the ability to gain runecraft. Once per chapter, you may inscribe a single rune onto an item the group owns anytime during your turn. The rune's power fades at the end of that chapter. Runes are earned and detailed in the lore tree, and we'll show you that in just a second. Also, she has this ability called Earth Spark. You gather the electrical potential stored within the earth and unleash it upon foes using the cone template. Once per round, all foes within the area effect lose 1d4 Vita, which is health in this game. And at that cost, it's going to be 2 power points. That PP means power points. Every extra power point spent is going to add an extra damage. All characters usually begin the game with 6 or 5 power points. Then they use them to activate not only these abilities on their focus, but they can also use it to activate some of the abilities that they gain or start with as the campaign unfolds. If we look on the inside of her booklet here, it shows your starting abilities and what starting weapon and equipment you're going to be gaining. So she'll have these two abilities here. We'll look at them in depth closely in just a second. She starts with this weapon. She's going to be gaining a random prayer, and she'll be gaining this token, which is a bandage. Also, if you notice over here, these locations extras are things that she can buy specific to her character when she goes to certain towns and visits these certain areas inside that town. And you'll see some of that again as we play through the game. This is the example of the lore tree, and this is the one specific to the Druidess class. As you can see here, it shows how much lore points you need to activate what's going to gain. You're going to gain on these sides. So at 100 lore, we're going to be able to gain either +1 to any skill or +3 to max vita. We can choose which one we want, but once we get to 200, we have to take the one that is based on our focus. So we'll be getting this Earthbinder regeneration rune. The possessor recovers 1 vita at the start of their turn each round during combat. And remember, we can inscribe one of these Earthbinder runes onto an item based on that focus ability we read earlier. Here's her player board all set up. We start with a card that tells you everything about what your character has, along with our little booklet that we read earlier that gives us an insight into how she starts the game and also some of the lore stuff on the back. So what we have are those 2 abilities that we got from the actual starting, and it says Call of Lightning. This is specific to our Druidess. She starts with this, a Bolt of Electric Fury. It descends on one target, draining 1d6 plus 2 vita, and they lose their next turn on a d6 roll of 6+. Down here it shows us what we need to be able to do to activate this, how it activates, and what it's going to do. This symbol here means it's a ranged attack. It can be used only once per round, and it costs us 2 of our power points. Next, we have this one as well, Flesh Bind Vortex. Restore d6 vita to all characters within Aura 1, or spend 3 power points to gain Aura 2, allowing this to extend its range. It's a ranged one, and it also is once per round, and it costs us, like it says, 2 power points here, or 3 if you want to do Aura 2. Aura 1, of course, is going to be your character and all adjacent surroundings, where Aura 2 would pass that out even farther. And of course, all of our guys have our little miniatures here. Here's our Druidess all painted up and ready to go. I sadly had them mostly painted, and then sadly, because of the shipping issues with the mold, I had to repaint a lot of these guys, and we had to get rid of everything that had some of the potential of having mold on it. She starts with this Silver Sickle. It gives +2 damage versus nature foes. It's a melee weapon, one-handed, and it rolls a d4 when it actually hits. And it costs 10 coins if you wanted to buy it. Down here we have all of our starting values, our 21 vita, and our 6 power points. Oh, she only starts with 5, so we're going to put this down to a 5. Not 7. 7 would be really good, but that's not going to happen. And on here, it shows all the stat bonuses we're going to gain. So like I said before, she starts with 21 vita. Now, she has a 34 defense, which means that monsters will have to roll a 34 or higher in order to hit her, based on any modifiers that are in play. If you're able to hit above that, they're going to do damage, or they're going to do whatever their card tells them to do, and you will see how that works. She has +4 might, +1 damage bonus. She starts with 5 power points, and she has a 5 stride. Stride is how far you can move. Power points are what you use to activate some of your abilities, or of course, we could also activate our Earth Spark as well with our power points. Damage bonus is going to affect your melee attack here, so she gets d4 +1 technically with her damage bonus, but any other weapon she gets, she'd also be able to add that +1 damage bonus. She gets +4 might, so when she rolls to attack, she'll be able to add +4 to her roll. We have skills, every character has them, and these are the ones that she's really good at: faith, ecology, and archaeology. So if we ever have to take skill checks, we'll be adding +1 or +2 if we use ecology on those. Over here it shows us our starting equipment, which we already have. We have our Silver Sickle. We also have our bandage, which is up here, and Folklore the Affliction has the best tokens in the game, because not only do you see a picture of bandage, it tells you exactly what it does. Super good. Every game should do it. So this one does heal d4 vita when we use it, which is awesome. So if she ever gets hurt too bad, we can always heal her up. She's also going to gain a prayer. We'll do that in just a second. She also has Mystic Knowledge, which is rituals and prayers, and she has a special ability, Overland Strider. When acting as the leader, and moving off-road. You may move 2 zones instead of 1 before drawing an off-road event. She also has these keywords. This will come into play when we gain new skills. You have to usually gain them based on the keywords that you have. We have our Druidess all set up. There is only one thing left to do. We have to grab a random prayer for her. So we got our prayer deck here. I'm shuffling it up. This prayer deck does include all the stuff from our base game, anything that's ever been out, plus the stuff in the Fall of Spires that it came with. So we have a huge deck here. This is way bigger than a normal deck. If you only have like this expansion, or you have just the base game, it's going to be a smaller deck. I include everything into the game to make this game super, super awesome. We are going to gain this prayer, Heaven's Light. Call upon the power of heaven to illuminate the area with intense light. Vampires and Necratu lose 2d6 Vita, and other creatures lose 2d4 Vita. Darkness is removed from the current map and has a faith of 9. So if we decide, we could cast this spell and we would be able to remove darkness and deal damage to some of the monsters on the map. We'll remove this from here and place this over here, I guess, with our Mystic Knowledge and Totems here. If people are wondering where I got this playmat from, this was part of the original Kickstarter, and I think you can still pick them up on their website if you're interested. I've had some questions about that. This is a really cool playmat. I really like how they did it. It shows you all the different things and where you can put stuff. I've put this tracker here. It shouldn't really go there. These are for companions. We have backpack and unequipped cards. We also have our abilities over here, which is cool. That was an in-depth setup for one of the characters. We'll move into the other 2 characters and probably go a little bit quicker. Our next character is the Magus, a remnant of the ancient Zoroastrian who watched the sky and read the signs for portents. Like those before him, he studies the secrets of the universe. The Magus comes from the east in search of the source of upheavals and terror he has seen in the stars and in their alignments. Believing in the divine inspiration behind all things, he brings knowledge of the supernatural and mastery of the metaphysical in his fight to take down forces that do not belong in our world. Now we have to choose our focus for our Magus. We can choose either Order of the Alchemist or we can choose Stargazer. And I think we're going to go Stargazer because, again, I think it sounds pretty cool. Once per chapter, you may spend one of your power points to create a world event. If a world event is already in play, this replaces it for the chapter. These events apply only to characters. Roll the d6 and determine which event occurs. So we'll decide what they are based on our roll. It also says at the bottom, you may activate 1 aura once per combat as detailed within the skill tree, which I think we'll gain as we get lore. I'm pretty excited about this one. This would be pretty neat. World events, there's a huge entire deck of world events that came out, I believe, in our second expansion that was an optional upgrade or part of the Kickstarter. This will also replace some of those. We'll probably be drawing a world event come to our second story event. The first one I'm going to leave out just to not prevent any complications to how much stuff is going on in this game already. But we probably might try that because, hey, these all look pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Here's just a picture of his lore tree as it goes. He's going to be able to gain these +1 max Vitas or +1 any skill just like the other ones. But as you can see, Stargazers is what we're going to be going on down here. It looks like it's going to be able to help him move around and attack better. Also down here, he's going to gain those auras that they were talking about in his focus. Here's the Magus' player board all set up and ready to go. He has some skills right here. Let's take a look at them. One of them is Touch of the Magi. It says you may tap an adjacent ally on the shoulder, whispering, "Do better." That ally may reroll a failed die or attack roll. That's awesome. This can be used at any time. You have to be adjacent to the person within melee range then, and it can be happening once per fight. It is going to cost 1 power point. That's pretty sweet. That's a really good one. It kind of reminds me of the Umbrella Academy, where it's like, I heard a rumor you did better, which is pretty cool. All right, we also have this one right here. This is the Corroanist. It says add a corrosion token to your attack before making the attack roll. This can be done once per round, and it costs us 1 power point. This is a corruption token. What it does is the person loses 1 Vita for 4 rounds. And so you place this down next to the enemy, and they will slowly this will tick down until it gets to 1, and then at that point you would remove it, and they'll be losing that 1 Vita each turn. Also, we have our weapon here. It exhausts to force a foe to reroll their attack against you. So that'll help out. It only does D4 and is a one-handed melee weapon. He starts with 21 Vita and has 6 power points, along with 36 defense. He gets that +4 might, similar to our Druidess, and he has a +1 damage bonus. He gets 4 strides, so he can only move 4 spaces. He does have 2 faith, 1 archaeology, and 2 occult for his skill bonuses. He starts with the weapon, a bandage, and vitriol. Vitriol is this item up here. It's in a little jar here, and it is, when it's thrown, it can do D6 damage and push a person 2 spaces, which will be able to move them away from us. Also, he has his mystic knowledge here of rituals and prayers. He has a special ability, Ancient Knowledge. At the start of each story, you receive a random prayer or ritual if you have neither. He has the keywords Forbidden, Magi, and Mythos. According to his book here, he starts with all of this. And like it said, it either gets a ritual or prayer. Since our priestess has a prayer, we're going to grab one of our rituals. I'll give him a good old truffle shuffle here. And again, I've added all the rituals I own into this deck. So we're going to make a massive deck, grab a ritual, and see what he got. He has Oblivion. Create a nether void that sucks the life force from your enemies. All corporeal foes roll a d10 on an 8+. They are destroyed. No rewards can be earned from those slain by Oblivion. Does not affect afflictions. And this is occult 10. So this down here is what you have to roll on the d10 in order to actually activate the spell. Again, he has got occult 2, so he gets +2 to the roll, so he only needs an 8+. Only an 8+, that it's still going to be pretty tough to do, but we'll hopefully see it happen in the game. Who knows? We'll see what happens. This is his character. It's right here. I've painted him all up. He's ready to go. He's got kind of this purplish cloak on, and I think he looks pretty cool. We'll set him down there, and he'll be on the board soon. Lastly, we have our Viper Maiden, a warrior operative from the land of Persia, sent on a quest by the wise men of the East to gather lore and information about the growing threat of darkness in the West. She must investigate and prepare her nation for what evils lie in wait. She is trained in the Order of the Asp, a sect of spy-like assassins whose accuracy with the bow and poisons are deadly. Due to her secretive methods, she may only have 1 militia companion at any time. So if we ever gain a bunch of those, well, she can only gain 1. Again, we choose which focus we're interested in. We can either be a spy or an assassin. I think I'm going to go with the assassin skill tray here. Not only is it awesome, but it's also the same side that all the other ones are on. We're going to be able to, each round of an encounter, I can discard any consumable item to gain an extra melee or ranged attack. That does d4 damage plus my damage bonus. I also have Mistress of Poison. At the start of an encounter, I can spend 2 power points to gain 2 corrosion tokens, or I can spend 3 power points to gain 4 corrosion tokens. 1 token can be placed on your target when you hit with your attacks. Unspent tokens are lost at the end of combat. Here's our Viper Maiden's player board. She has our skills right here. The first one allows us, it says here, your will to survive is strong. When you are reduced to 0 Vita, you may pass a nerve 7 to recover D4 Vita. So hopefully she doesn't die. Of course, that does cost 1 power point. One thing I want to mention is this is a passive power. All the other powers I've shown you so far are active powers, meaning you have to activate them. This one is always in use, so if you have the power points when you drop to 0, this will activate. It can only be used once per fight. Her other one is an active power that states, what is it? It is Eastern Stealth. If you are not adjacent to a foe, you become untargetable until the next turn. You may not move or make melee attacks. Spend an additional power point to remain invisible for an additional round. I can use that again once per fight, and it costs me 1 of my power points. She starts with 5 power points. I'm going to drop this down to 5. I don't know why I haven't 6. And 21 Vita. She has this recursive bow. These things here symbolize how many times you can use this bow per combat. Each combat, it will restock itself, but you can only fire it 3 times per combat. It gives +5 might. It has true. This one does d4 plus 1 damage, and it takes 2 hands to use in order to fire this, and it is a ranged attack. True allows us to fire this bow and not take the penalty for sight rules, which are found now in the advanced rules section that is brought about in this expansion. For sight, every ally or foe that blocks my sight to the target, I'm going to receive -5 might. But then this only really affects characters. It's not going to affect enemies. But true will allow the ranged weapons I can shoot through foes and allies without receiving a might penalty. So that's going to be pretty cool. She has a really keen eye when she attacks. She also has this weapon right here that does d4 damage. It's one-handed, and it is sacred, which means I'll be rolling my attack dice twice versus demonic and undead creatures, and I'll take the highest result, and I get to add an extra damage to this attack roll when I attack with that, when I actually hit. This is a two-handed weapon, so it is taking up my right and left hand, and this is sitting in my backpack. During combat, if I wish to take this out, I can use an action to go ahead and do that. It's one of the actions you can take during your activation when it comes to your turn, and you'll see how that works during the playthrough. She does start with a bandage, which, according to our card here, we could throw that and do D4, get an extra attack that does D4 damage, which is pretty funny. She also has +6 might here, as opposed to the +4 that the other characters had. She has +1 damage bonus, and she has 4 strides, so she's not as fast as the Druidess. The Druidess is out of control fast. She has these pluses to her skills, awareness, ecology, occult, and trickery, +2 or +1, according to this thing. She has these abilities here. She has her mystic knowledge of rituals. Her special ability is that she is immune to the effects of dust storms and quicksand and cannot be pushed. She has the keywords desert, marksman, and martial. I want to mention that the characters we've decided to use in this playthrough are all from the expansion Rise of the Spire. If you're interested in seeing what some of the other characters do from some of the other expansions, please go check out my playthrough. Of course, I'll link those in the description below. We have her character all painted up here. Here is our Viper Maiden. Also, I don't want to keep calling these people Viper Maiden and Magus and all that. In the last playthrough I did, I asked for some great names, and I got some great names. So please go ahead in the comments below, tell me some awesome names for these 3 characters, so that as we continue through the story, we can start calling them what they are. The last thing I want to bring our attention to before we actually begin our story is that we do have these character record sheets where we can write everything we need to know about our characters. Down here it does give us where we put our pluses and minuses for all the different skills and all the different attributes that we're doing that are written actually on those cards. So as you progress, your skills and stuff, their numbers in those are going to change, and we'll be writing them down on this in this character sheet here. I don't have any names, of course, for these people yet. That's your job. I too also, as we play through it, when we save our game after each story or after each mission, we can go ahead and check off all the different things that we have, which is really cool. It's a great way to keep track of how this game goes forward. Along with the character record sheet, we have a session record sheet as well, where we can write our notes, our characters' names, and the people that are playing with us. We have our triggered story moments and our story decisions. We can write those down here and keep track of how this went. It even has a date if we want to put the date of when we played, which is pretty cool. So we'll be filling this out as well as we play through the campaign. With our characters all set up, it is time to dive into the world of folklore. We're going to the story 1, Into the City. We can choose our difficulty here, Dusk or Nightmare. The reason there's 2 different difficulties, Dusk is your easiest difficulty, Nightmare is one of the hardest ones. This expansion falls on the back of Story 5 of Shadow of the Dark Spire. So if you've decided to keep your same characters from that expansion and that story, you can continue using them, which is why this would be you want to go into Nightmare mode, because if you were in Dusk, it'd be super easy because you've played through that entire set of missions and your characters are super powerful. This story is going to take place in Eurotrask, and it's going to take about 120 minutes. It is called Fall of the Dark Spire Part 1. Our story begins with the residents of Kreml have been forced to endure the machinations of the mysterious and dark forces that have seemingly plagued this land forever. Now, the seal of Kreml has come into your possession during your journeys. The alchemist has reforged the seal from its many pieces, and the priest at the Church of the Crossroads has blessed it. They are both certain that the seal must be an essential part of the mystery behind why fiends and forces from other dimensions beset Kreml. It is unclear what must be done with this reforged relic whose origin dates back before recorded history. You must uncover its significance, wield its power to restore the land to its natural balance, and bar ancient evils from enslaving mankind and controlling the earth. Ominous lights have begun to glow in the sky around the Dark Spire, far off on its lowly plateau. What was once a plague on the landscape to every eye has become a source of unease and terror. Bright lights, 6 in all, orbit near the spire's peak, lighting up the sky with an unearthly reddish glow. The weather has been changing since the appearance, becoming inclement and overcast. The red radiance the light emit seems to be draining the land of vitality and the people of their nerve. As far as the histories tell, the generations of people inhabiting Kreml have neither spoken of nor drawn attention to the spire for fear of some ancient evil reawakening within its alien walls. Neither ritual nor festival speaks of the spire. Hushed whispers of its dark origins circulate to keep the foolish from drawing close and rousing whatever lies within. But more mundane concerns have occupied your attention. The people of Kreml have become frightened. Some have taken to the hills to seek a safe haven, while others have boarded caravans looking to leave this forsaken land. Most have become anxious and untrusting, while some have even taken to looting and crime in face of this new omen of doom. Looters and thugs have fed off the fear and worry, igniting a new era of organized criminal activity. You have received a request from the officials in Eurotrust to investigate a disturbance, bizarre but not necessarily supernatural. A growing number of townfolk have been discovered grotesquely mutilated, their bodies cut with expert precision, and most of them missing extremities and internal organs. Some have disappeared from the infirmary beds in the middle of the night, and the homeless are vanishing from the streets. One of the town's tinkerers was assaulted on the street after dark, barely escaped, and ended up in the infirmary. He claimed that he was accosted by a man wielding a sharp implement. Soon after telling his tale, he went missing from that very ward where he slept, never to be seen again. You decide to question those in the infirmary and any others who could have been witness to the strange mutations and disappearances. At this point, we're now going to make a story skill check. For those of you who have not played Folklore before, these appear in the storybook from time to time. And you're going to be rolling a 10-sider and going against whatever skill it tells you here. Of course, if you succeed, you're going to be reading in this book in a different area so that you never know exactly what happens if you succeed or fail. Of course, this one's going to be pretty easy. If you succeed, you read the moment. If you fail, you don't read a moment. But some actually have different reading things here. And sometimes you do want to fail in order to have good things happen, as opposed to succeeding. You'll never know exactly how it goes. So for this one, we're going to be questioning townfolk in order to gain clues on what is happening in the town. So we're going to choose one of our characters for a speech 6. Sadly, none of my characters have any speech ability at all. So whatever I'm going to roll, I'm going to need a 6+. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. For this particular skill check, I'm going to choose our Druidess. I think she kind of is the leader of this whole little entourage here, at least as far as I'm concerned. She needs to get a 6 or better in order to succeed. Let's roll it up. We've got a 6, so that is a success. We're going to go ahead and read story moment 141 on page 67. 141 states, a sick young woman who is asleep near one of the missing survivors tells you someone entered the infirmary during the night, quiet as a shadow. It was pure luck that she noticed anything, but a sharp object sliced through the curtain, separating their beds, making a ripping sound. Through a sleepy haze, she swore that she saw a person carry a huge bundle out of the door just moments after she awoke. At this point, we're going to receive a boon and the yellow story marker. The first thing we get is a boon. We have them all in here, so I'm going to mix these up a little bit. Just grab one out of here and see what we get. This boon states, take an additional move. That'll be really good. I'll put this boon token right up here. I'm going to leave it that way so I remind myself what it is. We also gain this yellow story marker. These are really cool in the way they work. You're going to place it right up here on your player board. And while we're going through this adventure, sometime down the line, maybe not even be in this story, they may ask me if I have the yellow story marker. And if I do, I'm going to move to a different part of the actual story, which would be really cool. So we'll place it right there and move on. Now that we've gotten our boon and our story moment, we're going to just finish up here. It says, you decide your best course of action is to search the town at night for a sign of the suspicious figure or any other disturbances. Next, we're going to set our map up according to our story. We're going to grab all these different tiles and place them down. We're not going to start on the overworld map. In the other two playthroughs, I actually started in the overworld map, which is pretty cool. As you travel around, you draw some cards. But in this one, we're going to be starting inside the city itself. We've gone ahead, and I'm going to grab all of these rooftops and urban things and all of these different tiles right here. We'll place them out on the board along with all the different tokens that you see. Along with the map, we also are going to randomly spawn each character into the starting zones represented by S1 through S5 on the map. As you notice, when you looked at the map, it had these little numbers up in the corner. I'll show them again before we do this. On adventure maps, whether foes are present or not, you must roll initiative for anyone in play, the characters. In this case, as well as drawing initiative for foe track cards. Roll initiative for foes when they spawn in. We're also going to randomly place the compass tokens A through E face down in the locations shown on the mini map. So just to show the map again and see what you're talking about here, these are the S numbers they're talking about. And if you can see these little tokens here, these are where we're going to be placing out our A through E compasses. There's going to be multiple of these all around the board. Here's a super panned out view of the map. When we do our playthrough, we will not be this far out. We do have our 5 random tokens down here. I'm just going to give them a little mixy mix here. And we're going to place them out according to our storybook. So one's going to go down here. One will be going here. We'll be placing another one right outside. There's a door right here. It's going to be placed right outside the door to whatever that is. Maybe that's the infirmary. Who knows? We also are going to place one next to the fountain over there, and our last one is going to be placed over here in the bazaar. We're going to have to go check those out, and I think that's going to be pretty much what some of our mission is going to be about. The primary goal of this chapter is we do have to investigate the compass tokens for clues. We must spend an activation while adjacent to one of them in order to flip it over. Then we're going to read the appropriate story based on the letter that we choose. Once the group either obtains 5 danger tokens or flips all the compass tokens, immediately read story moment 130 on page 67. There are a few optional goals, and these are purely optional. I can investigate all the search locations, or I can try to unlock that gate by passing Trickery 6. Of course, it is dangerous in the dark. At the end of every non-combat round, the leader must roll a d10. On a roll of 1 through 3, a random character must pass a Trickery 5 or be accosted in the night. The character failing must roll on the skirmish table and skirmish with a creature whose encounter is at 2. The character participating in the skirmish receives its awards after the skirmish. The group gains 1 danger token. Remember, if we get 5 of those, we're going to have to read a story moment. If we get a 4 through 5, we come upon a group of watchmen patrolling the streets. A random character must pass a speech 5, which we're all super good at. And it says here, if we succeed, the guards will recover us 1 vita. If we fail, we are unable to explain the purpose of our skulking around and must skirmish with the watchman at an encounter of 1 on the skirmish mode. If we get a 6+, nothing actually happens. At this point, we will now spawn in our characters. I have a D10. It's only 5 different spaces. So 1 and 2 is 1, 3 and 4 is 2, and so on and so forth. So we'll go with number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be at S3. S3 is right over here. Our Druidus comes in over there. Next, we have our Magi. Let's see where the Magus. The Magus comes in at 4. So that's 1, 2, 3. He's going to be coming in at S2. S2 is actually way over here. He's so far away from everybody. And lastly, we've got our Venom Maiden. She's going to come in at 8, which is going to be S4. We'll take her character and place her right down here. So these two are kind of in the same vein, but sadly, our Magus didn't get the clue. He's way up there. But actually, it's kind of nice because he could actually search this area while our other characters kind of go off in these 2 areas as well. The final thing I want to talk about on this map is this token right here. This is part of the setup of the game, and it says Darkness, melee -5 might, range -10 might. This whole map is in darkness. We're going to represent that by placing out our darkness coin I got during our 2nd Kickstarter, and or maybe the 3rd Kickstarter, I'm not actually sure. This little coin that I got, it's really cool, light and dark. So I'm going to place that down right here. If we ever walk in there, that'll be fine. That way I can keep this token next to the board that I can remind myself that what darkness does. Again, every token in this game tells you what it does in the back, which is really cool. Our mission told us to set up the initiative board because we are on an adventure map. That entire thing is this big giant adventure map. It's going to be really cool. We have to roll it up. This is new to Folklore for this expansion, and you can use this and implement it in any of the Folklore games. This is going to give you a super cool way of doing combat and keeping track of what's happening. You'll see how this all works. This is one of my favorite things from this expansion. We're going to roll up all 3 of our characters. You're going to take the ghost standee for the character, and that is what you're going to place down on here. Of course, if your character dies, you can replace it with the miniature, or you could replace it with the standee for the actual character. We'll roll up our Druidus is going to be at number 2. We'll roll a next one, which is going to be our Magi. Our Magi is going to be number 9. He's way far away, but he's super fast. He's going to be going first almost. 8. That means our Viper Maiden is going to be falling in the category of 8. Some things I want to talk about when it comes to the initiative board, you can only ever have 2 things on any one of these numbers. So if we had our 3 players all roll rolled an 8, the last one would be put down on number 7. It doesn't go up, it goes down. You also can never have an initiative value greater than 10 or less than 1. And now that we've placed our heroes out here, we would then place out the enemies. There aren't any, but as we play through this adventure map, I'm sure we're going to come across them. At this point, we'll be drawing initiative cards next, which is another really cool thing in this system. The next thing we have to do is draw initiative and foe tactics cards. We're going to take our initiative deck here, give it a good old truffle shuffle so it's all set to go. We'll draw one of our initiative cards. Now, if you had 2 players, you would draw 2. Our initiative card we have is defensive stance. So you look to see how many characters you have, and that's going to be your bonus. This 3 characters, you're going to gain plus 8 defense for defensive stance. That's pretty good. We're going to take our foe tactics deck and shuffle that up, give it a good old truffle shuffle here and see what we get. We've gotten Dominator. That sounds, you think they got a better one. During your turn, receive the following benefits, repeat if necessary. So depending on the round, they're going to be gaining certain rewards. Of course, if we're able to take somebody out that is standing on or gaining the bonus of Dominator, we're going to get an extra reward, gain the benefits of this card as the foe did for this combat. So that's pretty cool. We can gain that card. We'll put those right down there. Now notice we've put these little flags here. We're going to use the D10 to put these on the board. And if we're ever in the same space as one of these, we're going to gain that power. So again, we'll roll our D10 and see where it is. It's at 3, so it's only 1 away from our Druidus. We can move up and down this track based on certain things in the game, like say items or abilities, or you can spend a power point to move yourself up or down 1, which is pretty cool. Our foe is going to be at 1. Oh, that's a great place for it. So if they go last, they're going to gain an ability. That's fine. Hopefully they go last. I love it when the bad guys go last. That's how we set up the initiative board. And at this point, we're going to start our adventure by going with the Magus. Our Magus is going to go first, and we're adventuring right now. So the way this works is there's going to be 3 different phases. The first one is resting. Once per chapter, the current leader may choose to have the group rest, where I'm able to gain like my Vita and power points back and things like that. The leader then rolls a D10, and on a 1 through 3, I have to skirmish something based on what adventure map we're on. Next, we'd move into phase 2. So we're not going to be resting. We'll move into phase 2, where character actions take place. We're going to move in the order of our initiative, but if there was an initiative track, you would move by starting with the leader and going clockwise. We're going to start by allowing ourselves to move. We can move spaces up to your stride, and during our movement, we can pause to perform any type of actions. Our Magus has a stride of 4, so he's just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can move diagonal across for only 1 stride, as long as it would be possible to move there. If this extended out past this, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to go around it. But right now, where we are, that's totally fine. At this point, we've come to the end of his movement. He then can perform any type of action. He can activate an item, an artifact, or use an ability, or cast a prayer. We're not going to be doing any of that. We're just going to move into the next part, which would be, if there was a phase 3, the map leader transition, we're allowed to change into the next area if we're able to, but we're not able to. We need to finish up this map and find out what is going on in this town. That's the end of the Magus' turn. All he did was move the 4, but that's really what we're going to do. We'll next move to our Viper. Our closest token is right here. We have a stride value of 4. She'll move 1, 2, 3, 4. She is able to go diagonal across that area. Lastly, our Druidus has a stride of 5. She'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's not going to do anything else. That's all she's going to do for now. She's so close she could have almost got there. She would only had 1 more stride. Coming to the end of the round, our leader for this round is going to be our Druidus. She's going to roll up her die and see what she gets. She got a 6, so nothing is going to happen. We'll move into our next turns. Normally when you're traveling around on the overworld map, you're going to be passing this coin back and forth and flipping it from day to night, so the leadership will be changing. But since we're playing on this adventure map, the leadership is not going to change. Our Druidus, unless we do a map transition, will be our leader at all times. The first person to activate now is going to be the Magus in initiative order. He will move 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, there's nothing else we're going to do. We're getting closer. Now, of course, we can interact with these as an action as we move past them, but you can only interact with one thing at a time. Next, our Viper Maiden is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, so close to that token. Lastly, our Druidus will move 1, and she'll now activate this token. Now, she could continue moving after activating this token if she wishes to, depending on what it is. We have found D. Let's go read that in the book. Looking here, D is story moment 117 on page 66. You notice a storehouse door standing ajar. We're going to roll a d6 just right here on the book and see how it goes. I got a 2. That's usually not too good. You want high numbers. It says, a man is tied to a pillar in the center of the warehouse, being beaten by 2 thugs. You call out an alarm, which causes the thugs to turn toward you and approach. Gripping gnarled wooden clubs, they seize you and tie you up as well. Remove yourself from play. You may not return until another character visits the location of the flipped compass token. Gain 2 danger tokens. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Our Druidess is in big trouble. I've removed her miniature from her board. I'll just place her right there. And we'll place that token back down here on the board, and we got to get our Viper Maiden up there. Even though she's tied up, our Valiant Leader is going to roll our die and see what we get. We got a 10, so again, nothing happens. Returning to the Magus' turn, who really doesn't know what's going on the other side of the map. He's going to move 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and at this point he is going to interact with this search thing here and then move 1 more square. Interacting with the search token, we're going to roll a d10. On a 1 through 3, we're going to get hit with a snare and take d4 snare damage. If we get a 4 through 7, nothing happens. If we get an 8 through 10, I get to draw a card from the item deck. So let's see what happens. We're going to roll that up, and we got another 10, so we get to grab a card from the item deck. We'll draw a card from this massive item deck. This is just an unwieldy beast of an item deck. It's absolutely monstrous. I have included all the different items from not only this Spire, but our base game and all the other expansions that have come out so far. So we'll just draw the top card because I've already shuffled this all up, but once you touch this thing, it falls all over the place most of the time, especially since I've sleeved everything. Let's see what item he has received. He has received Magus Scientist. Wow, it's kind of fitting. It says Alchemical Bomb. Burst 1, range 4, add a corrosive token on an attack roll of greater than 80. It does d4, it's one-handed, it's ranged, and it has those 3 times that you can use it per combat. Wow, this is going to be really cool for him. We'll put our item right here. During his turn, he can equip this, so he's just going to go ahead and do it. We'll put the little token there on 3 to show that he has 3 when he goes into combat with this, and he has Burst 1 and range 4. Burst is similar to Aura's, as this attack will not only affect the person he's hitting, but also all adjacent spaces that are next to it. So for example, if he hits a character here, he would affect everything around it as well with this attack. Now we have a small issue. Our Viper Maiden is 1 space away from this token, but remember there's another token up here. We have to go save the Druidess. I think we're going to move 1, check out this token, and then continue moving. So we've got token letter C, so let's check it out. C tells us to look at story moment 105 on page 65. You glimpse something from your darkest nightmares, a hulking horror grotesquely stitched together, waving multiple pairs of arms about. I have to pass a nerve 5 test. So her nerve, she gets no additional bonuses to, which is too bad. She's got awareness, ecology, occult, and trickery. So we're going to try to roll our die just right here and see how it goes. I got a 4. I failed the test. It says, you are shocked by the grotesqueness of such a creation and fail to dodge its flailing arms. Lose your next turn, take d6 damage, and gain 1 danger token. Now, I forgot to take the 2 danger tokens from our last one, so we're up to 3 danger tokens. We'll roll our d6 and see how it goes. We took 4 damage, so we're going to take our little timer ticker thinger here and go 1. Let's go to 1. Let's see here, 2, 3, 4. She's at 17 Vita. Wow, I'm already taking damage and I haven't really done anything yet. Our Huntress again will roll our die and see what happens to us for this round. We got a 7, so nothing happens. We're getting super lucky at that. Hopefully it holds up. For how amazing these tokens have been, I don't know if I really want to go check out anymore, but we really have to. So he's going to move 1 right here and check out that token. It is going to be hopefully not bad. It is A. A's must be pretty good. It's the first one. A is story moment 50 on page 61. You turn the corner and witness a masked individual scaling a building toward the rooftop, assuming he's up to no good. You call it a warning for him to stop. He drops deftly back to the ground and draws a wicked-looking blade. Encounter a cutthroat at half Vita. Place him on the compass token. After, gain 2 danger. After, is that going to be, I wonder if this means after the fight or after I place him on the token. I'm going to go with after the fight because then we'll gain our 2 danger tokens, and sadly that's going to advance us to another story event. We'll place our cutthroat right out here on the board. Here he is. He's going to go ahead and take him on. Let's take a look at our Cutthroat card here. Up here it shows what its Vita is going to be based on the number of people. We are playing on 3, so it is 19. Now it comes in at only half health according to our story event. So instead of 19, he's only going to have 10. I'm going to round up. I can't remember if it's up or down, but we're going to round up. Right here it shows a plus to his might based on what difficulty we're doing. Dusk, so he gets a +0. So he's going to be going against our defense with not anything extra. When we try to attack him, he has 42 defense. If we defeat him, we get 15 lore and 4 cards. He has a melee attack here. He has a special power that says every round, the Cutthroat will randomly target a different character with an ally adjacent to them within the Cutthroat's stride. If they cannot, the Cutthroat will target any character randomly within stride. There's only one, so I think this is going to be a mono-on-mono fight here. We'll see how it goes. These over here are the powers that it's going to get. And it also has a charged ability where the Cutthroat immediately receives a free backstab attack if I'm able to get enough charge tokens on him. Hopefully we don't get any charge tokens on him. That would be bad news. We'll go ahead, begin our fight, and see how it goes. But first, we have to roll and put him on the initiative board. We'll roll out our D10 and see where he's going to be placed. He's going to be placed at 4. So we'll put a purple token there on 4, and then we'll put a purple token right here to signify that that particular foe is right here. If we were fighting multiple Cutthroats, we would then put out multiple colors of these. For example, I could put a red one up here, and then we'd roll that Cutthroat out on the board as well. Say it got a 6, and it would be positioned there. This Cutthroat at the purple initiative will fight at 4. If he had rolled a 2, he would move up or down if he was able to get to this one space. But he rolled a 4, so that's not within one space of his foe tactic, so he is going to stay right there, which means our Magus will be attacking first if we wish to actually fight him. And I think we're going to. Looking at all the things at our disposal, we do have this one that I can have an adjacent ally do something, so that's not going to help us. But I have Corrosionist. I can add a corrosion token to my attack before making the attack roll. We're going to do that, which is going to cost me 1 power point. So I'm going to go down to 5 power points, which is just fine. And now that will be able to do additional damage over the course of time. We're going to use our Jambiaya to attack. It's going to be a D4 if we hit. I could use this, but it does the same amount of damage and it's a ranged attack. I don't really need to be using that right now. Also in this, they've changed the way that you attack and defend. You can choose to use this token right here even during encounters. This used to only be used during skirmish. You can choose to attack, which means all your stats remain the same. But if you want to, you could choose to defend, which is going to give you +10 defense, but your might is going to be -10. Since it's only one of us and we're going mono-y-mono, I think I'm going to stay with my attack here, and we're going to roll it up and see how we do. In Folklore the Affliction, you roll 2 percentile dice and see how you do against our defense. We'll roll them up. Come on, we'll do good things. And at this point, I'm actually going to roll my damage die as well. It kind of tells you to roll as many dice as you can to help you out, so you don't have to keep on rolling all mountain of dice here. I got a 94, which is a hit because it only has a defense of 8. I'm going to do 2 damage. That's the one that's on top, as you can see. Every dice is a little bit different the way it reads. So I've done 2 damage, and we use that power that's going to give him a corrosive token. I'm going to place this up here on the 4. We'll tick his dial down to 8, which means they're getting somewhat closer. I do get a damage bonus as well from my character. He gets +1 damage, so he's going to be a 7. I also get +8 might, but I didn't need it because, well, or 6 might, I believe. It's because I went way out for what he actually has for his defense. That's the end of our Magus's turn. Next in initiative order is going to be our Cutthroat. He's going to go ahead and attack us. Our defense is only a 36. So he has to roll a 36 or higher on his percentile dice, and we're at dust, so he doesn't get any additional dice. Let's see how it goes here. He rolled a 52. That's terrible. I'm going to exhaust this to force a foe to reroll their attack against you. Hopefully we can stop this attack. We need to hopefully not take any damage here. Oh, he got a 69. He's still hit. Now, the way you find out what he does to you is really cool in this game. You're going to take the lower of the 2 dice and match it up to over here to figure out what he's going to do. It says Disabling Strike. The Cutthroat delivers a strike to your fighting arm. Lose D4 Vita, reduction 1 during your next turn. We'll roll our d4 and see how much damage our wonderful character loses here. He loses 3 health. So we start with 21. We'll go down to, what did we take? We took a total of 3. So 1, 2, 3. He's at 18 health already. Oh, that's terrible. Of course, we do have our corrosive token that if we read it, it says lose 1 vita for 4 rounds. So he is going to go down to 3 on that, and he's going to lose 1 more health. And that's going to be the end of his turn. We'll move over to the Viper's turn, but sadly she's missing a turn because she found that horrible thing running around in the night. So we'll now move to, I guess it'll be our Magus's turn again. Let's see what he can do this time. He does have that corrosive ability again, but I don't think he's going to use it. I think he's just going to attack, but he has to suffer reduction 1. Which means his attack damage is lowered by 1. We still get to roll it up and see if we can hit a 42. We got a 24, so the 6 is only bring it to 30. That's not going to help us at all. It's going to be our Cutthroat's turn. We'll roll his dice. Well, first he's going to take a damage here. At least I did 1 for my corrosion. That's pretty good. We'll go to 5. We need to take this guy out. He needs to get a 36. And he got a 29, so he also missed. That's fantastic. So both of those characters missed. We'll move to our third person in the initiative track, which is going to be our Viper Maiden. Our Viper Maiden is on a huge quest, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's really urgent to get to. We need to get to D to save our Druidus. Our Magus is locked up in combat with our Cutthroat. Let's see how this goes. I got a 73, which is fantastic. That hits him for 3 damage, plus I get the extra 1 for my character. So we do a total of 4 damage, bringing it down to 1. And now it's going to be our Cutthroat's turn. And check it out. We've got our Corrosive. Lose 1 Vita for 4 rounds. He will die to his corrosive. This should fire off actually at the beginning of the round. It actually should fire off before, like at the top of the initiative track. But I've been doing it exactly a little bit of the wrong time. But it's still effective and it is still going to kill him. He's going to go down to 0. Another thing I do want to mention is I did exhaust this. I know I'm standing it back up, but that's only so I can read this. Once this is exhausted, it doesn't unexhaust until you go on to the next map or in something in the story or a card of some kind or a power allows you to unexhaust things. I've placed everything back down here. This is exhausted, and I've given our Magus 4 coins and 15 lore. So we've already started filling out our character sheets, and of course, like I said, I'll need a name, and I'll eventually write all this stuff in as we go forward for our next story. That's going to be the end of his turn. We get to go to the Viper Maiden this time. And of course, the one thing I totally forgot was the fact that he is a Stargazer. I was totally going to take advantage of this, and I forgot to roll that and use his PowerPoint. Well, that was my fault. There's so much stuff that goes on in this game. It's easy to forget small little things every once in a while. Sadly, I kind of think that's a big one, but that's okay. We'll continue on, and in the next story, we'll make sure to do that. We'll remove our Cutthroat from the map. And I did forget about our darkness of -5 might. I don't think it affected our combat. I think we did pretty good rolls without this, but I do have to remember I have to put that inside the dice tray so I don't forget this next time. It's a lot, again, like I said, a lot of little things that you might forget in this game, but that's okay as long as you're having fun. Our Viper Maiden's next. She is on a march 1, 2, 3, 4 up to this token. With that round complete, we'll have our leader roll our die and see what we get. We got another 8. Yes, that's fantastic. Well, I shouldn't say another. I don't think I've rolled an 8 yet. But it's awesome that we've still gotten 6+ every time. We've gained 5 dangers, so it is time to read story mode 130. I probably should have done this after we defeated the villain and not moved our Viper Maiden, but that's okay. We're going to take a moment to read story mode 130 on page 67. Your skin crawls as you sense a presence behind you. You turn to see a tall man staring down at you with hard, dark eyes, thin lips, and a face completely covered with old scars. Seeing that his prey has discovered him, he launches at you with a razor-sharp scalpel, a grin spreading over his scarred visage. A random character encounters the Anatomist Affliction, who will appear adjacent to the character. The Anatomist will only receive 1 attack per round during this combat. The character may make an Awareness 5 check to gain +1 initiative. If they fail, the Anatomist moves 1 slot closer to the nearest foe flag on the initiative board, if not already on it. I don't think we're going to do that. We're at 9 and 8. I think we're doing okay. If the group has the yellow story marker, which we do, the character automatically gains an initiative bonus, and also characters gain +5 defense during the encounter. After the combat, return the yellow story marker to the box. If any character drops below 1 Vita, they gain the green story marker, and the narrator must immediately read story moment 125 on page 66. I bet that's bad. And if multiple characters die simultaneously, choose a random one to receive the story marker. If the group defeats the anatomist, read story moment 162 on page 69. Since it can't target the Druidess, we'll just roll an even odd die here. The Viper Maiden will be even. The Magus will be odd, so it is going to go after our Magus, and we'll place it down there and begin the encounter. Good news, bad news, I didn't expect to be fighting an Affliction in the first battle. I've painted up all our miniatures, except for the Afflictions. Afflictions aren't painted yet, I apologize. He is going to be adjacent to him. I'll put him right there. He's snuck up behind him, and he's going to go ahead and get him. Here's a quick look at our anatomist. He's absolutely terrible. He starts with 48 health. I don't know how we're going to take this guy down. He gets +2 might when he attacks because we're in dusk. He has a 50 defense and 4 stride. Though if we take him out, we're going to get 35 lore and 25 coins. It'll be really good. He's got this special attack which gives him 2 attacks per round with the possession of Razor 1. Now it does say we only do 1 attack, and it does say here on attacks rolls of 80+, he gets the Razor 1. His first attack targets the character with the highest Vita within his stride. So right now it is only the Magus, but he could potentially be moving around and attacking multiple people. His second attack, which isn't going to happen, would attack the lowest Vita. So he's just going to run around and attacking the highest Vita from how I understand this. Here are his powers. We'll see how those go as we fight, and he has some charged ability if, of course, we get some of those. We're going to place a green token down here next to his board to show that he is going to be on the initiative track as a green foe. We'll roll our d10 and see where he goes. Oh, he's number 7. That's so close to where our guys are. But lucky for us, he's going to be just 1 below us. The sad thing is, I'm going to tell you, Afflictions get +1 to their initiative roll. So he is going to be an 8. And the order of activation on these is Afflictions will be going before our Viper Maiden. Our Magus is in big trouble. He's got to get out of there before he gets attacked by this guy. We need to try to all get together and gang up on him. He's going to use his movement first. When you move away from an opponent in this game, there is no detriment. There's no like break attacks or impediments or anything like that. We're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, our stride value, and then we're going to attack. We've got a lot going on here trying to take this character on. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use my Corrosionist ability just like I did before. That's going to tick our power points down from 5 to 4, and we're going to make an attack using our Chemical Bomb here. It's a ranged attack. Now we are in darkness this time. I remembered it. We have -10 to this attack. Let's see how it goes. We got a 68. Which we need to subtract 10 from, means we got a 58, and we need a 50 to hit him, so we still hit him. On top of that, our Magus does get an extra 4 might, so instead of a 68, he's got 68 is 9, 71, 2, minus 10 is 72, minus 10 is 62, so we did hit, meaning we're going to do D4 damage, and check this out. 1. We did 1 damage. We did get a corrosive token on him, which I'll put right here, which is going to help us out quite a bit. I'm going to remove this from the box there. I did 1, so he's at 47. That's a start. And I do get +1 because of my character's ability just being the Magus. That's the end of his turn. Other things you could do during combat that I haven't really been talking about is you do get to make that move, and you get to do an action, which is like you can either attack, you can activate or exhaust an item or artifact, or attempt a ritual or prayer. And remember, we do have this Oblivion card. If all else fails, we might try to cast this to try to get rid of him. On top of that, other things you can do during your turn in an encounter is you can interact with some of the map features. You can use a summoned ally or companion. I could use a consumable. For example, if I wanted to heal myself with my bandages, I could do that. I can use an ability, which you saw me do before I made that attack, and I can equip and trade an item. Though, if you do decide to equip items, it can only be performed at the very end of the turn after all other actions have happened. That's the end of my Magus' turn. We're going to move into the enemy's turn, which is going to be him. He has 4 stride, so he can catch up 1, 2, 3 without any problem, and he's going to make his attack. It's time for him to attack us. He's going to roll his dice. Now, I only have a 36 defense, but I do get +5 because of my storybook token here, my story marker. So we'll roll it up and see how he does. He got a 58. That's more than enough to hit. And 8 is going to be this one, Implements of Torture. His tools of torture dig into your flesh. Lose 4 Vita, 1 power point, and become deranged 5. Oh, that's terrible. First, let's take our damage. We're just gonna take 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I was going the wrong way on these, and we're gonna lose 1 of our Vita, which is going to be 3. So we have 14 health left on him, and we have to take a deranged 5 test. This is a test that uses my awareness, so I have to roll this up and get a 5 or better. We got a 1. Oh no, we are deranged. What deranged does is actually 100% terrible. It's a negative status which allows my mental control to be smashed, causing you to lose all focus. I cannot use abilities that require PowerPoints, I cannot use prayers, and I can't use my ritual, so we don't have a chance to potentially just destroy him. Oh, that's horrible. All right, I guess that's what he does. This is just terrible. Here's the token for our deranged. On the back it says no abilities requires PP. I'll place this I'm going to place it on his head because that's where it is. But normally you just place him up on top of the board like this. Our Viper Maiden has to get over there really fast. She's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. She's going to activate this along the way, being able to free our Druidess, which is fantastic because she needs to also be on the move too. We do have to get through this door in order to get to him. I'd be absolutely going to be super thematic to see eventually this guy over here going, help, give me help, and you can't get through it. This is going to be really cool. We're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our Druidess can move 5, which is way faster than anybody else, so it's super cool. That's the end of our turn, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to spend a power point for our Druidess, and this will allow her to move up in the initiative track, which means now she has this bonus, which she's going to gain +8 defense, which should really help out, especially if this guy gets more attacks on her. Next, we'll move into the next round. I'm going to flip his token to defense now. He's going to take +10 defense and -10 might, and he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. That's, I think, the best plan. He's not going to activate this. I got enough going on right now to not have to deal with another one of those tokens. We're going to attack him, though, with our... I think I'll move here. I might not have line of sight right there, because line of sight does actually happen in this game. It's a pretty simple line of sight rule. There's not much that actually blocks it except for map terrain features, and this terrain feature right there, of course, would block it if I'm hiding behind it. So we'll move there and attack him with that ranged attack. We're going to now move into more attacks. I didn't do the roll at the beginning of this turn, or the round, because it was only supposed to be done during non-combat rounds, so I shouldn't have been rolling it when I was attacking that cutthroat, but that's okay. We're going to move this down to 3, meaning he is going to take 1 damage. He is at 45 damage now. Oh my gosh. We're just going to roll this up. I'm probably not going to hit him. I am going to tick down how many times I can use that each turn. Let's see how this goes. I get an 88. That might work. 88 minus 10 is 78, which is totally enough to hit him. Plus, I get the extra might from my character. But check this out again. Wah, wah. 1. 1? Really? Well, I did 2. I'll take it. 1, 2, 43. I'll take anything I can get against this guy. That's the end of our turn. It's his turn now. He's going to move up and attack the closest person within his stride value with the most Vita. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's him. He's the only person in his stride range. He's going to attack us now. Let's see how this goes. Probably pretty bad. 89. Even with all the extra defense I gave myself, 89 is not going to help. He again is going to implement of torture. He's going to do 4 Vita to me, bringing me down to 10. Oh man, we're getting just rocked by this guy. I also lose a PowerPoint too. I'm down to 2 of those, but it doesn't matter. I'm deranged and I can't use my abilities anyway. So that's the end of that attack. I'm not going to roll the deranged 5 because I already am deranged. It's now our Viper Maiden's turn, and she's going to hold her activation. You can choose to do this, and if you do, you go at the end after everybody else has gone. The reason I'm doing that is I'm going to have my Druidess now move 1, 2, 3, 4, and she's going to interact with this door. Remember, my Viper Maiden has a bow, so she can actually fire all the way across to hit this guy if she can get in line of sight of him. So let's see what we can do about that door. According to our optional goals, we have to do a trickery 6 to pass the test. She has no extra trickery, but she got a 6. So let's check it out. Success! Remove the gate from the map and gain 8 lore. We're going to take down this door. She can continue moving after interacting with that object. At this point, she is going to call lightning. We're going to use this. A bolt of electric fury descends on one target, draining D6 plus 2 Vita, and they lose their next turn on a D6. I can do this once per round, and it costs me 2 Vita. So we're going to tick our Vita from 5 down to 3, but we're going to be able to do D6 plus 2. Oh, that's going to be so good. We did a total of 3 plus 2 is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's down to 38. That's fantastic. Now on top of that, I am going to cast this spell for my action. Since I'm not actually attacking or using any kind of items or artifacts, I'm going to use this as my ability to activate. It says, call upon the powers of heaven to illuminate the area with intense light. The top part isn't going to matter, but the second part says, other creatures lose 2d4 Vita and darkness is removed from the current map, which is actually going to be key. We need to get this darkness out of here. I'm losing 5 or 10 might every time I attack. Barf. I don't like that. We're going to do a Faith 9 check to see if it works. So I'm going to roll up my D10. I get to add 2 because she has a Faith of plus 2. Let's see what we got. We got a 4. We only got a 6, so our prayer did not go off. We do get to keep it. We don't lose the prayer. That's the end of her turn. Now we'll move on to the Viper Maiden. Our Viper Maiden need to catch up. 1, 2, 3, 4 to right there. I think we have line of sight. We'll have to check. We'll check to see if we have sight. Sight in this game is basically drawing a straight line, but it's not from center to center. This one is if you can trace a straight unblocked line from one corner of the attacker's space to any corner of the foe's space, there is sight. So it's pretty easy to be able to see people in this game. And I can draw a corner from there to his corner over there, and it doesn't go through this thing here, and it doesn't go through this thing here. So at this point, I have no problem being able to fire my bow. We're still in darkness, so I have -2 might, but I do get +5 for the bow, and she has an innate +6. So I'm really only needing a 49 to hit him because the darkness is going to be swallowed up by the rest of this stuff. I'll roll up all my dice to see how we do. This does have true, so I'm not going to lose any of my might going through my own character. So let's see how it goes. We got a 43. Oh, it would have done 3 damage, but we failed miserably. We did not hit him. That's the end of her turn. I'm going to drop that down to 2, and we'll go to the beginning of the next round. At this point, we're going to tick our corrosion marker down to 2. He'll take 1 damage for that, going to 37. And it'll be our Magus's turn, and he still has 1 of his vials left to fire. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 back over to here, and he is going to use that vial one last time. He'll roll up his attacks with his D4 and see how it goes. I got a 53. That's not going to be enough because I'm going to lose 10 from the darkness. So that's 43, and he doesn't have enough to bring it back up to 50, which is too bad. These are exhausted now, or not exhausted, but they don't have any more ammo on them. That's going to be the end for that. So at the end of my turn, I am going to re-equip this to be able to use. Well, actually, I haven't had to re-equip it because it was in his other offhand. So he's got that in his other offhand. He'll be using that from now on. That's the end of our alchemist turn. It's going to now be, it's going to be our afflictions turn. I should have mentioned that I would be going back to the attack with him. I'm going to stay on attack with all my guys unless I say otherwise. He's going to now choose the target with the most Vita within his stride, and the person with the most Vita within his stride is going to be her. 1, 2, 3, 4. He only has 10, so 1, 2. He's going to move up here and attack her. This is the person I want him to be attacking. She has an innate 34 defense, plus she gets the 8 from the initiative cards. So she has 42, plus she gets the 5 from this, bringing it to 47. So she has almost a 50-50 chance of not getting rocked by this guy. And he missed. That's awesome. So he's not going to be able to hit her at all. That's the end of his turn, because he's not going to be able to get those 2 attacks due to the scenario. At this point, our Viper Maiden is actually going to back up 1 square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 squares, and hopefully still have line of sight. We'll have to check that. She can draw it from there to there. She's just fine in order to hit him. The reason I'm doing that is he's going to attack the person with the most Vita within his stride. 1, 2, 3, 4, not in his stride right now. So if she drops below 17, he would go after her if it was within his stride value, and I don't want that to happen because she has so much better defense. We'll roll up our dice and see how it goes. I got a 70, which is going to be enough to hit him. I think like a 49. I did 2 damage, so he will take 3. 1, 2, 3. He's down to 34 damage. That's pretty good. We're going to move our token down. It only has 1 attack left. Then that's going to be okay. We'll move into our Druidess's turn next. So we'll move that from the thing because she has a silver sickle that she'll be attacking with. On top of that, I think I'll spend another 2 power points to fire this off. I'm going to do D6 plus 2 and see how we do. We only got a 3, 4, 5. Another 5 damage this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's down to 29, which is pretty good. And that's going to cost me 2 power points, bringing my power points down to 1. So unless I focus, I'm not going to have enough power points to do anything else again. Let's see if we can hit with our silver sickle here. Or should I cast my prayer? I think we're going to try to cast that prayer again. I'm not going to use the sickle. We're going to cast that prayer. This is going to be big time if I can get this thing to fire off. Let's roll up our faith and see how it goes. I got an 8. That's enough to do it. So that means I'm going to do 2d4 Vita to this enemy, and we're going to remove darkness from the map. Get that out of here. So we did 2 plus 3. So we did 5 more damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is done. We have casted this, so it's no longer available to us. We'll have to try to find another prayer at some point. But that was absolutely fantastic. She's completed her turn. She is done. We're going to go into the next round. We'll tick down our corrosion here. It goes down to 23, and we'll move into our Magus's turn. Our Magus is no longer afraid. He comes running in and attacks with that weapon of his. Before we make our attack, I did forget that this does D4 plus 1. That's our bow. So I should have done 1 more damage. We'll go down to 22. We'll roll up our dice here and see how it goes with our Jambiaya and hopefully hit him. Let's see how it goes. I got a 53. There's no longer that minus 10 from darkness or minus 5 if you're attacking with melee. So this is a hit and it does 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. And then on top of that, I am going to bring it down to 19. I get 1 more, so we're at 18. Moving into our Affliction's turn, he's going to move towards the person with the most Vita within his stride. That still is the Druidess. Let's see how it goes. He's going to attempt to hit her. He gets plus 2 to his attack. He got a 76, 77, 78. That is enough to hit, so he is going to go with a 6, which says Mad Doctor. Gripping you tightly, he puts his amputation saw to use. Lose D4 plus 1 Vita and become weakened. So she's going to take some damage here. She's going to take 2 plus 1 is 3, bringing her down to 1, 2, 3, 14, and she has to deal with weakened. She's going to gain a token, I'm just going to place it right there, for being weakened. When she makes an attack now, I remove the token and she has to roll her attack twice and take the lower value. My Viper Maiden is going to move up 1, 2, 3 to right there and take a shot. The reason why is he can't move through these 2 people. You can move through your allies, but you can't move through enemies. And you can't ever stop on an ally space. But if I move her up, she can take that attack. We have 1 final shot with the bow. Let's see how it goes. I've got a 63, so we're going to do 3 damage. 1, 2, 3, and then I get to do 1, 2 more, bringing him down to 13. We're getting so close. That is the end of this bow. We're out of ammunition, so we're going to switch to our other weapon that we have and attack next round with that. Our Druidess's turn is next. She's out of vitality points. She shouldn't have 1. She should have 0. I might have used the wrong dial on one of the things, but she should have no points because she has 5 total. She used her Call Lightning twice, and she used 1 to move on that track. So she's just going to attack now with her Silver Sickle. That's all she's got. This gets plus 2 damage to nature foes. This is not a nature foe, so we'll roll it up and see how it goes. She got a 17, so she didn't actually hit. That's just terrible. So she is done. We'll move into the next round, meaning we're going to tick down our corrosion again and put it to 12, and that's the end of our corrosive attacks. We don't have any more, and sadly our Magus can't use any abilities to be able to get more, which is Sad News City. He is going to attack, though. He can at least do that. So he'll attack with his knife and see how it goes. We'll roll up our dice, and we got a 48, which is going to be enough because it only has a 50. It did 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, and he gets plus 1. So he's down to 7 health. So close. One thing I should have done before I attacked is I should have moved to right there. he's now going to attack the person with the most Vita within his stride, which is now actually going to be her, which is okay. It's not the best, but I needed him to move so that she could actually make a melee attack, and well, I forgot that he was going to come and attack, so there we go. That's the way it worked. She has a 36 defense. Let's see if he hit. He got a 33. He did not hit. So it is now our maiden's turn. She's going to use that knife she has right here and see how it goes. She gets D4 potential damage. She got a 38. She gets to add, I think, oh, no, she only gets to add 6. That's not going to be enough. She needed 50. So we'll move into the Druidess's turn. The Druidess will attack with her weapon and see how she does. She got a 49. She gets to add +5, I think. Or is it +4? It's +4. But that's going to be enough to get above 50 because this place is no longer in darkness. We get to do 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. And +1 because of her character's card itself. Moving into the next round, our Magus is going to walk right in and hopefully take him out with his weapon. This is going to be awesome. I need to just hit him and he's going down. Hopefully we get him before he hits us. We got an 84 and it does 3 damage, which is enough to bring him to 0. So we're going to go ahead and read the next part of our story journal. The group corners the tall, gaunt figure of the anatomist. He nervously clutches his scalpel with his gloved hand. Then, with a maniacal chuckle, he stabs his thigh with the syringe full of green, bubbling liquid. Before you can react, he darts away as though uninjured. Skip to Chapter 2, Manhunt, on page 15. Having completed the encounter, we're all going to get 35 lore and 25 coins from our character. Also, when you complete an encounter, you're able to roll a d10 for each person. And if you roll a 10, you're able to gain an item. I'm going to roll 2 blue ones. These are going to be for our Magus because I guess technically I did defeat that other encounter he was in, so he's gonna be able to roll the die a second time for that one. I'm not sure exactly if that's right, but we're gonna go for it. So these are gonna both be for the Magus. This one will be for our Druidess. Let's see what we get. We did get 2 10s. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So our what is it? The Venom Maiden and Magus are both gonna be able to draw an item. Here again is our giant item deck. We'll draw first for our Magus and see what he got. He got a glaive. It allows us to do flank 1, range 2, and it rolls a d6, but it does use 2 hands. That's for him. Our Viper Maiden is going to gain, what's this, an Oddsy? D4 versus nature creatures. He gets plus D4 versus nature creatures. It normally gets a D4 and is a one-handed weapon. I don't know if we're going to be keeping that, but I'm a big fan of this glaive. I think we're definitely going to keep that. I'm going to put both of his weapons into his backpack, and he's going to start using this glaive as a 2-handed weapon. This one is going to go into the backpack of our Viper Maiden. I think she can bring it out if she wants to, but at the start of the game, I think each turn she's going to use that bow. It's got 3 ammo, and it's pretty awesome. That's the way our characters look. I do want to mention that things persist in this game. We do not get to go back to full health and power points unless told to by our chapter or our story. So this game continually persists forward as you move through the chapters and even in through the stories. There you have it. That is the end of Chapter 1 of Into the City. Story 1 inside the book. Fall of the Spire, another Folklore the Affliction expansion. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I really love this game, and I'm excited to go on to Chapter 2, The Manhunt. Of course, we'll be chasing down a painted affliction next time. I, of course, didn't know any of the afflictions were even going to appear in the first chapter. It's hard to know what to paint when you don't actually know the story. We got all the rest of the stuff painted, but I didn't have any of the afflictions painted. I'm sorry. They'll get all painted by the time we do our next video. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the next playthrough of Folklore the Affliction comes out. I'm super excited to go on this manhunt. Don't forget to put anything in the comments below. I would love to hear from everyone. We need some names for our valiant warriors. Also, if there's any areas you notice, please also let me know about them. And I will put a pinned comment so that everyone can learn from this playthrough. There's many moving parts in Folklore. It's a fantastic RPG in a box, and it's a great game to be able to play with you and your friends. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you're excited to see if our 3 characters can go on a manhunt, then I need you to meet me at the co-op shop.